In Department 103 on the 9th floor of the Criminal Courts Building in downtown Los Angeles, Judge Lance Ito presiding. The jury of 10 women and 2 men reached that verdict yesterday afternoon, handed it over to the judge after less than 5 hours of deliberation. The judge decided to postpone the announcement until this morning so all the principals could be in place, and we presume as well so that Los Angeles police could be on the streets so the city authorities could get all of the necessary arrangements in order should there be any kind of activity on the streets of Los Angeles after this jury, however it comes down. We should tell you as well about some of the other principals in this case. The children of Nicole Brown Simpson and O.J. Simpson, Sydney and Justin, they are with the Brown family in Laguna. We do expect that the Brown family will be in the courtroom today, but without the children, they have been in seclusion throughout. And there are many questions about what happens to these children, whatever the verdict happens to be. Also, the Goldman family expects to be in the courtroom today, all of them. And after the verdict, we will be hearing from the Goldmans, from the Browns, from the prosecutors, also from the defense team, and from the jurors. And then there will be a mad scramble as the various principals in this case go on their way. And later this afternoon, I hope to have here in New York with us Barry Scheck, who made the very persuasive arguments for the defense team on the technical side of all of this. He was the man who made the arguments on behalf of the blood corruption and what he said was the contamination of the critical technical evidence. He is the DNA specialist for the defense team. So that's where we stand at this hour. We now have less than 45 minutes to go. Jerry Spence is standing by.
Truth isn't easy to find. It requires looking a little harder, digging a little deeper. That's why more and more people are turning to NBC News for no-nonsense news and in-depth reporting. Getting to the truth is what we're all about. NBC News, now more than ever.
We're back with continuing NBC News live coverage. The moments leading up to the verdict being read in Department 103, the Criminal Courts Building in downtown Los Angeles. You are looking at the assembled crowd of electronic journalists, newspaper journalists, magazine journalists, curiosity seekers from around the world, people for O.J. Simpson, people who are opposed to him. It has become an enormous international magnet, that Criminal Courts Building in downtown Los Angeles, and we will know now in about 38 minutes just what the verdict was. It's in a sealed envelope. It was handed in yesterday, shortly after the jury heard a reread of the testimony of Alan Park. It has been sitting somewhere under, we hope, very close supervision in the time since then. It was at 3 Pacific time when Judge Lance Ito received the verdict from the 50-year-old black woman jury foreman for this jury, and then announced that, in fact, it would be read this morning because the principals were not in court, Marcia Clark and Johnny Cochran. Virtually all of the principals, both sides of this case, both the legal side, the witnesses, the defendant himself, everyone stunned by the very swift deliberation that occurred. O.J. Simpson, for his part, has been in jail for 473 days. I'm sure that the past 24 hours have been the longest for him. The very future of his life will depend on the reading of that verdict. In an earlier moment in this long ordeal, in that letter that was read by his friend Robert Kardashian when O.J. Simpson was on the run, he said, however this turns out, I can't go on. No matter what the outcome, people will look and point. I can't take that. I cannot subject my children to that. That remains very much true today. Whatever the outcome of this case, O.J. Simpson will never be able to return to the life that he once had. He'll either be a convicted murderer spending a good part of the rest of his life in a prison in California, or he will be an acquitted man, but a man who is a marked man in the eyes of this country. So that's where we stand at this time. Now let's go to NBC's George Lewis. And around the world, we'll be back right after this.
This is a News 4 update.